Long ago, before the white smoke rose from iron trains, before the roads cut through the ridges of Kikuyu land, there was a village hidden deep among the tall Mugumo trees. The people lived by the rhythm of the earth, planting, harvesting, singing, and telling stories by the fire. But in that village, there was also fear. For everyone knew that in the thick forest to the east, something lived. At night, the hyenas avoided that place. The owls never perched there. Even the bravest hunters refused to step into its shadows. They whispered of a woman who had once lived in the village, long ago. Her name was Wanjiru, a healer, but also a woman of dangerous temper. Some said she was betrayed by her people, others that she turned against them in greed. What all agreed on was this: when she vanished into the forest, she carried with her a calabash, smooth, round, and glowing faintly, even in darkness. Years passed, and the story of Wanjiru became a warning to children. Do not wander east, the elders said, or the calabash will drink your soul. But time dulls fear. And one season, in the dry months when the rivers shrank and hunger grew, the people's caution weakened. Among them was a young man named Monge. He was strong of body but restless of spirit. The drought had left his family stores empty, and he was desperate to prove himself. One evening, as the sun bled red across the ridges, Monge overheard the elders speaking. They said that the calabash of Wanjiru was not just cursed, it was also powerful. It was said to hold food that never ended, water that never dried, and riches beyond counting. Monge's heart burned. He thought, why should we starve where that treasure lies hidden? Why should I watch my mother's hands tremble with weakness while power rests in the forest? That night, when the crickets sang and the fire burned low, Monge made his choice. He would go east. He would find the calabash. And he would return as the savior of his people. But what he did not know was this: the calabash did not give without taking. Monge waited until the village slept. The moon was thin, like the edge of a blade. He carried only a gourd of water and a small knife. His mother stirred in her sleep, whispering his name as though she felt his living in her dreams. He did not wake her. The path east was narrow, choked with roots and vines. The deeper Monge went, the colder the air became, though it was the season of heat. His ears strained, no hyena laughter, no chopping insects, only silence heavy as a burial shroud. He walked for what felt like hours until he saw it, a faint glow between the trees. His breath caught. There, upon a flat stone, rested a calabash. It was larger than any he had ever seen, carved with swirling patterns that seemed to twist and change when he looked too long. The glow was not like firelight, nor like the moon. It was the light of something alive. Monge stepped closer. The calabash paused, as if it knew he had come. His hands trembled, yet hunger not stronger than fear. He whispered, "For my people," and touched it. The surface was warm. A sweet smell rose, like roasted yam and honey. When he opened the lid, his eyes widened. Inside was steaming food, fresh, rich, enough to feed a whole family. His stomach growled, but he remembered the elders' warnings. Slowly, he dipped his fingers and tasted just a bite. The food melted on his tongue, warm, perfect. His body flooded with strength. The ache of hunger vanished. A voice, soft as the wind, hissed in his ear. "Take more." He spun around. No one was there. Only trees, silent, watching. The calabash shimmered. The food inside seemed endless. Monge thought of his mother, his sisters, the hollow-eyed children of the village. If I carry this home, no one will starve. But when he tried to lift the calabash, it would not move. It was rooted to the stone as if the earth itself held it fast. The voice came again, sharper now. "Eat more." Monge's chest tightened. His hand moved on its own, scooping another bite, then another. Each swallow brought a rush of pleasure, stronger than before. His heart pounded. Sweat beaded his skin. Then he saw something, reflected in the shining curve of the calabash. Behind him, just for a blink, a shadow stood. Thin, crooked, with eyes like red embers. When he turned, the space was empty. But from deep in the trees, something began to laugh. A laugh that was not human. Mwangi froze, his ears straining. The laugh faded, swallowed by silence. He told himself it was just the forest. Just the wind. Yet his skin prickled, as though unseen fingers brushed his neck. The calabash still glowed, steady, patient. Inside, the food steamed, untouched by the cool night air. Mwangi licked his lips. The hunger had left his belly, but a new hunger had taken root in his mind. The memory of the taste, the sweetness, the strength, clung to him. His hands itched to take more. He forced himself to step back. No, he whispered. This is for my people. Not for me. The forest seemed to lean closer, listening. He pulled the lid back over the calabash and turned to leave. But his feet felt heavy, as though the earth had thickened beneath him. The path he had taken seemed darker now, the trees bending together to hide the way. From behind him came a low sound. Not laughter this time. A whisper. Mwangi. The voice was a woman's. Soft. Familiar. His heart stopped. That was his mother's voice. He turned sharply, eyes wide. In the glow of the calabash, he saw only trees and shadow. Yet the voice came again. Mwangi, why do you leave me hungry? He shivered. His mother was back in the village, asleep. Wasn't she? He clenched his knife, though it felt like a child's toy in his hand. Who speaks? He demanded, though his voice shook. The forest gave no answer. Only the calabash paused once, like a heartbeat. He looked at it and for a moment, just a moment, he saw not food inside, but dark liquid, thick as blood, swirling slowly. He blinked. The vision was gone. The food was there again, bright and steaming. His knees weakened. He turned back toward the path, stumbling forward. He had to return. He had to tell the elders. But the air had changed. The silence was no longer empty, it was full, pressing, watching. He could almost feel breath against his ear, though nothing was there. With every step, he felt the forest shift behind him, as if something walked in his shadow. Mwangi forced himself along the narrow path, heart drumming like the Ngoma drum in a funeral procession. His knife glimmered weakly in the moonlight, but he knew it would be useless if something truly lived here. The silence was wrong. Not empty, never empty. It pressed into his ears, heavy, like water. He could hear his own breath, his own heartbeat, even the faint scrape of his sandals against the earth. But nothing else. No crickets. No owls. No night. Then, snap. A twig broke behind him. Mwangi's blood froze. He did not turn. His father had once told him, when you walk in the dark and hear a sound, do not look back. Sometimes the darkness is waiting for your eyes. So he walked faster. The path seemed endless, curling deeper into the forest instead of out. Sweat rolled down his spine, cold as river water. His chest tightened with the thought, what if I can never leave? Again, the voice. This time not his mother's. A child's. Brother. Soft. Weak. Mwangi's legs nearly gave way. He knew that voice. His little sister, Warimo. She had been sick for weeks, her belly empty from the hunger. She had whispered just like that when she begged for food. Brother, help me. His knife shook in his grip. His mind screamed, she is not here. She cannot be here. But his heart twisted. He turned. The tree stood silent. Nothing moved. Nothing breathed. Yet far back, where the faint glow of the calabash still pulsed, he thought he saw a small shape crouched in the shadows. Small, like a child. Mwangi stumbled backward, almost falling. His mouth went dry. He forced himself to look away, to keep walking. The voice came once more, right at his ear. Don't leave me. Mwangi ran. His sandals slapped the earth. Branches whipped his arms and face. The forest seemed to close around him, clawing, grabbing, pulling him back. His breath tore from his lungs, but still he ran until his legs burned. And then, suddenly, he burst into a small clearing. Moonlight spilled onto the grass. The forest stopped at its edges, tall and dark, like walls of a prison. In the middle of the clearing stood something he had not seen before. Another stone. And on it, another calabash. This one was cracked, dry, empty. But Mwangi could not move. For though it was broken, it still glowed faintly. And the glow was red. Mwangi's chest heaved as he stared at the broken calabash. Its red glow pulsed weakly, like an ember struggling not to die. The patterns carved into it were not the same as the first one. These were jagged, sharp, twisting like thorns. He stepped closer despite himself. His feet moved as though pulled by invisible hands. The cracked lid was half open. Inside was no food, no sweetness. Only ashes. Dry, black, cold. But when Mwangi bent closer, he saw shapes in the ashes. Tiny bones. He staggered back, choking. His stomach lurched. Were they goat bones? Chicken? He could not tell. They were too small. Too human. The red glow flickered. For a moment the ashes shifted, though no wind blew. Something beneath them twitched, like fingers stirring. Mwangi raised his knife with trembling hands. Leave me, he whispered, though to whom he did not know. I came only for my people. I want no trouble with you. The forest seemed to hear. The silence broke. Low at first, then louder, came the sound of many voices. Whispers, hissing, murmuring, calling his name. From the trees. From the earth. From inside his skull. Mwangi. 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 He clapped his hands to his ears, but the voices poured through, relentless. The broken calabash shook, cracks widening. The ashes spilled over the stone, spreading across the grass. And in that darkness, two faint eyes opened. Red. Burning. Watching him. Mwangi froze. His body refused to move. The whispers rose into a single voice, low, female, filled with hunger. You have tasted. Now you belong. The ashes surged like a living wave, rushing toward his feet. Mwangi screamed. And the forest swallowed the sound. Mwangi did not remember how he left the clearing. One moment, the ashes rushed at his feet. The next, he was stumbling through the trees, branches clawing his face, his breath ragged and broken. The voices still echoed in his skull, but fainter now, as though the forest itself had pushed him out. At last, he fell onto familiar soil, the ridge near his village. Dawn's pale light touched the horizon, painting the sky in weak colors. He had survived the night. But he did not feel alive. His skin burned with cold. His throat was raw from screaming. And though his hands were empty, he swore he could still feel the warmth of the calabash in his palms. When he reached home, his mother gasped. His eyes were bloodshot, his lips cracked, his face streaked with scratches. She asked where he had gone, but Mwangi could not answer. His tongue felt heavy, as if another's hand gripped it from inside. Instead, he said only, food. There is food in the forest. The elders gathered quickly when they heard this. Men with spears, women with hollow cheeks, children with swollen bellies. They crowded around him, desperate, hungry, hopeful. Mwangi told them of the glowing calabash, of the food that never ended. But he did not speak of the whispers. He did not tell of the shadow or the broken god filled with bones. He swallowed those truths like poison. The elders frowned. Some muttered prayers, others shook their heads. The forest east is cursed, they warned. What you saw is not for us. It is the work of Wanjiru, the outcast. To take from her is to invite death. But Mwangi's mother looked at her starving children, at the weary faces of her neighbors. She spoke with trembling voice, "Cursed or not, can we watch our people die when there is food waiting?" The crowd murmured. Hunger is louder than fear. At last, the oldest elder, Njuguna, whose back was bent like a bow, spoke. "If this food is true, let us take only a little. Enough to survive. But we must not anger what lives there." The people agreed. And so, the next night, Mwangi led them east. As they walked, he felt the forest stir. He swore the trees leaned closer, the path longer, the shadows darker. But behind him, the children whispered of meat, the mothers dreamed of milk, the fathers of full bellies. When they reached the stone, the calabash still glowed. Its warmth lit their hollow eyes. Inside, the food steamed, endless, waiting. The people fell to their knees and praised Mwangi. They ate. They ate until their hands shook, until tears rolled down their cheeks, until laughter returned to their hollow voices. For the first time in many months, the village was full. But Mwangi tasted nothing. All he felt was the red glow